Now, a BBC investigation team has revealed the final destination of bull calves, which are exported from Scotland at the age of 2 weeks. Now, the animals, being male, can't join the dairy herd, and farmers therefore have no use for them. They're either shot at birth or they're shipped abroad, ending up in Spain, where after fattening they can be further exported to North Africa or the Middle East. Nicola Glenn is from the animal charity Eyes on Animals, who obtained official journey logs for the calves.
They left Kenrine-Port on a P&O.
Okay, hold on. Here is before we get started, let's just hear what I think this is going to be. This is some vegan propaganda that's come out online. There's some documentary about what we do with cows in Scotland, and we're all meant to feel guilty and bad about it. And these like vegan eco warriors are probably trying to make us all feel guilty and make us all cry over spilt milk going on here. So most of this is just nonsense, propaganda stuff. It's overhyped, easy. Like Scotland, the UK has some of the highest animal welfare standards in the world. To try and complain about how we treat our animals here is just whiny, just nonsense. We treat them so well here. They have some of the best lives you could possibly have. And again, and like vegans will try, vegans will say don't eat meat. Okay, I kind of understand what they're saying there. But when they start saying don't have dairy, what's wrong with dairy? There is a bit of milk that comes out of a cow. A cow produces milk all the time. If we don't milk it, the cow will explode or something like that. So we're doing a service to the cows. We need to milk them to make them feel normal. So we've got to hear this thing that makes us all feel bad. It's probably all nonsense. We're going to hear somebody, I think from the National Farmers Union, NFU, and another probably eco-vegan warrior about compassion in farming. Pansies. Anyway, so let's hear what the farmer says. He will kind of be the antithesis of the Vigo eco warrior. But let's just hear what they've got to start off with here. What nonsense, what lies, what propaganda we've got to actually listen to.
Ferry to Larnport in Northern Ireland, where they continued their journey down into Southern Ireland. Ooh. And they got the ferry in Dublin across to Cherbourg.
Great.
And the onward journey is to Spain.
Brilliant! So, at only 2 weeks old, these cows are having a holiday. They get to go on ferries, on road trips, off to Spain. Spain, the weather's so much better than what it is in Scotland. I want to be one of these cows. At this such a great time in their life, they get to go on a road trip they've gone into, was it Northern Ireland, Southern Ireland, off to Spain. Great, they're getting good weather, finally. But they're like, hey, see you later, Scotland. I'm glad I'm a bull cow.
This journey would have taken around 6 days. Mm-hmm. These animals are
road trip,
and they are not adapted to cope with these sort of journeys.
Neither are humans, probably. We were never built to sit in cars for 6 days. What's your point?
The longer the journey, it's been proven scientifically that the more suffering is involved.
Well, let's talk to...
Boo-hoo, I bet a cow is suffering. Oh, I bet all the cows are going, moo, I don't want to be in this truck all this time. Like suffering cows. Who cares? Who cares?
Peter Stevenson from Compassion in World Farming and former NFU President Jim Walker. Hello to both of you.
Okay, here's where we get the two opposing sides. So we've got some eco, compassion in world farming. He's probably like, we should cuddle cows. And then we've got the farmer, who's like a normal person. Yeah. So let's listen to the farmer.
Hello.
Hi.
All right, Peter Stevenson, what's wrong with this?
As Nicholas said, these are immensely long journeys.
Immensely long? Hold on, I've got a mate who cycled around the world. It took him like 100 days. That's an immensely long journey. 6 days in the back of a lorry off to Spain. That's not immensely long. That's just a long road trip. Get over it. God.
For such young animals, these calves are 2 to 3 weeks of age. The scientific research...
And about 2 to 3 weeks of age. Remember, a cow's life is like 4 years old or something. They don't live that long, and they develop much faster than us. Like, they're walking within a day. Humans aren't walking until they're about a year old. So that's the equivalent of a teenager going on a holiday. Yes, it's not, they're only 2 weeks old. It's not like a 2-week human baby. It's like a 2-week cow, which is like a teenager in human terms.
Shows that they're not capable of really coping with these journeys. They don't yet have properly developed immune systems, so they're quite vulnerable to disease. They can't yet control their own temperatures, so they're susceptible to extremes of...
Who can control their own temperatures? Hold on. No, I'm not any warmer. What kind of thing is this? They can't control their own temperatures. We're not like a human microwave. We press a button and suddenly we warm up. Nonsense.
Heat and cold. And these journeys really are massive. The animals are going from Cairn Ryan, across by sea to Northern Ireland,
boat trip,
down by road to Rosslare in the Republic, a 19-hour sea journey to northern France, and finally all the way by road down through France to Spain.
Well, go to Spain.
These journeys are inhumane.
Jim Walker, tell me about what is happening on dairy farms. In the given that these bull calves can't be used for dairy, what happens?
So here's the farmer. So let's him. He'll refute all this nonsense that this vegan eco warrior is trying to say.
Well, there's about 170 or 80,000 dairy cows in Scotland, John.
See, 180,000 dairy cows. We've got lots of them. Nearly 200,000. That's like a large, small city.
And to get a cow to produce milk, you have to get her pregnant. When she's pregnant, she can have either a male calf or a female calf. The female calves are retained in the herd for milk production, and the male calves traditionally were used for beef.
Brilliant. So, like, win-win. We keep impregnating the cows keep making milk, and we keep getting beef. Win-win situation. So that's, like, great for the economy, is it not?
Scottish farmers have adapted well to some of the issues in this food supply chain that's been driven by consumers' demand for cheaper and cheaper food. But
consumers' demand? See, I always thought, like, the vegans were always trying... make you think it's not there. What do vegans always try to tell me? Oh, it's our fault for buying it. So it's not our fault for buying it. The farmers produce it and we just consume it. So it's not like we're making farmers lower their prices. We're not making farmers make more cows. It's just there's beef everywhere, so we just buy it. It's the farmers' responsibility. If a vegan wants us to stop eating meat, well, tell the farmers to put the prices up. It's not us as a consumer's problem. It's not our ability to change anything.
By doing things like sex semen, where you can actually put your best cows and calves to make sure they have female calves and reduce the number of male calves born. What they also do is put a large percentage, over 50% of the Scottish dairy herd is now in calf to beef sires, so they're better at producing beef that can go into the normal beef supply chain in Scotland. So farmers have done a lot already to limit the number of male calves born, but the brutal reality of the world we live in, when consumers are demanding mince for less than £2 a kilo, beef mince for less than £2 a kilo.
Hold on, I wasn't expecting the farmer to... So the farmer's kind of just said something I didn't expect to hear from him. It's like he's talking about the brutal reality. Come on, farmer. It's farming. It's happy cows in fields. You just squeeze the rudders and magic milk comes out and they get pregnant and the more milk comes out. Brutal reality? I don't think we need that kind. Like, you're the farmer, we're on your side. Calm down the language a little bit there. God, you think you're a vegan or something? So yeah, brutal reality. I don't think that's really what we need to hear.
If you retain these pure male dairy calves, then it's likely that with barley and wheat in the drought, for example, this summer, been up towards £200 a tonne, that each of these animals being fed powdered milk and then subsequently wheat or barley for the rest of their lives, will probably lose the farmer somewhere between £150 and £200 per animal. So they have a very difficult choice to make when they're born, which is, do we try and do something with them, or do we literally have to shoot them at birth? And believe me, it gives no...
We don't... Nah, that can't be right. We don't, it's not the case of... it's more expensive to feed them and it's better to shoot them. Nah, that's... And sure they've got the right person on.
No farmer any pleasure having looked after the animal, having taken her through her pregnancy, then to have to get rid of the calves at birth. To get this into perspective, though, from my understanding of the figures...
Perspective, this is what we need. Yeah, so that was a bit emotional there. I don't think we need to really hear that, but, let's get perspective here.
Have been produced, less than 5,000 animals were exported from Scotland perfectly legally last year.
Legally, see? There's nothing wrong if it's legal. What? You're going in trucks and going abroad and going to Spain. It's not legal. Everything that's legal is absolutely fine. Legality equals morality, obviously. It's just fine.
Let me add, this is less than 10% of the dairy male bull calves that would be born. And
so less than 10% are sent off in these road trips. What a shame. It should be more. Should be more cows getting to go on this road trip off to Spain. Lucky cows. But, 5,000. That's quite a lot. That's like a whole senior school. Anyway.
Every year that goes by, as I say, farmers are looking for ways to try and limit this trade, to try and add some value at home, because it obviously makes more sense to keep them in Scotland if the economics are right.
Yes.
Peter Stevenson, that's Jim Walker saying that's the brutal truth, and also it's legal.
See? Brutal. Brutal. We don't need the word brutal, but it's legal. Fine.
It may be legal, but the numbers being exported are going up. They went up last year from 2 years ago it was 3,000 odd. Last year it was 5,500. Basically, one's got to say, look, neither
almost doubled.
Exporting calves to Spain nor shooting them at birth are acceptable. It is up to the dairy and beef industry to work together to make sure that there is a humane and economic use of the animals in Scotland or other parts of Britain. This can be done. Most calves are reared for beef here in the UK, but to the dairy industry's shame, and this is a UK, not a Scottish figure, 95,000 calves are shot at birth.
95, not that much, just a couple, 95,000. So that's how, you see, so either we send them on day trips to Northern Ireland, then to France, then to Spain, which, pollution and emissions, or we can cut that down by shooting them. I don't know, it actually sounded quite as good as I thought that would sound. But we did 95,000. Okay. He's a vegan, probably. So don't listen to that. That's nonsense.
And another 25,000, 5,000 from Scotland, 20,000 from Northern Ireland are exported down to Spain.
Oh.
This is unacceptable.
See, Northern Ireland much worse than... not that's bad, but just more. Just from Northern Ireland.
The dairy industry... I have a lot of sympathy for individual farmers because of the economic pressures Jim has spoken about, but the dairy industry has a lot of problems which it really needs to address. Increasingly, cows are being zero grazed. It means they're kept indoors all year round. That's even happening in areas of wonderful pasture like Ayrshire and Dumfries and Galloway. We have to get cows back out into the fields.
What is he saying? Dairy cows are kept in barns all their life, zero pasture. I've never heard of that. That has to be nonsense. And he's saying we need to get them out in the fields. They're always out in the fields, all of them. I'm sure. Like I think he's what do you call it? Like over exaggerating, hyperbolizing. That's what I'm saying. But no chance.
Have to stop exporting calves. And we should also stop taking young calves away from their mothers when they're just a day old. This is a normal practice in the dairy industry. It causes great stress for both the mothers and the calves. It doesn't have to be done. There is a wonderful farm in Galloway that actually is broken with this
Stress.
tradition and keeps the calves with their mothers till they're several months old.
Jim Walker.
Yeah,
Right, okay. That guy was just like, blah, 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 stress, scientific, doesn't need to happen, zero pasture, blah. Nah, yeah. Anyway, farmer, let's hear what the farmer's going to say.
John, this is the same claptrap that Peter's.
See, claptrap. See, so the farmer straight away is like, this guy's talking claptrap, which is farmer talk for bullshit.
has been spouting forth for the last 25 years. He's got to face up to reality. The consumers of the UK want milk at less than the price of water. The consumers of the UK want burgers for 99p. They want mince for under £2 a kilo.
Hold on a mo. Let's not put the blame on the old consumer here. You provide us milk, which is cheaper than water. You provide us beef, which is 99 pence a burger. You provide us mince, which is cheaper than whatever you say. Don't be putting the pressure on the consumer here. You know what power do we have to enforce animal welfare and money being spent on compassion in farming? It's not our fault as consumers. We just consume it. Hold on, farmer boy. It's not our fault. You're the guys that are doing it. It's not us.
If you're going to do that, the farmers that supply Tesco, Asda, Aldi, whoever, have to make sure that they can actually survive economically. And the only way to do that is to have cows that produce enough milk to be able to be competitive. And unfortunately, some of these cows have these male calves. If Peter is genuinely so concerned, and we're talking about 3,000 to 5,000 animals, why doesn't Compassion in World Farming set up a unit in Scotland, and the guys that currently have to go through this live trade, which is completely legal, will no doubt be delighted to supply Peter, and he can show the rest of the farming world that's doing everything it can to try and limit this trade. He can show the farming world how we can do it economically, because at the moment it's awful easy to criticise, but it's very difficult to actually think of alternatives. And I'm amused that Peter's notion of this farms in Ayrshire with beautiful grass. We've been very lucky this summer because we've had a drought. If he had seen farms in Ayrshire this time last year, there wasn't a dairy cow out because they were going up to their knees in muck, which is a far bigger welfare issue than...
Exactly. We can't have them on pastures. We can't have them out in the fields because there's either a drought and they would need more water, or it's too wet and they would be muddy. So we've got to keep the cows in the barn and fed specific food that we give them, powdered milk to the baby cows. Otherwise they'll be covered in muck. You don't want your cows covered in muck. That's not nice.
Cabs that are being taken down through Ireland to Spain under the watchful eye of the Scottish Government, whose vets have accompanied some of these journeys and found that they had been done completely legally and completely humanely. So if we would stick to the facts and actually face the brutal reality of farming in Scotland or farming in the UK today, then Peter would be much more help to the animals that he says he represents, and he would be able to help farmers as well by proving to them that there is a way of doing this profitably.
Peter.
As I say, I recognise the economic pressures on farmers, and so it would be better really if the farming community and organisations like ours could together inform consumers about the implications of their desire for very cheap milk.
So maybe if farmers taught their consumers the implications of their desire for cheap milk. So in other words, hey, you want cheap milk? Well, then I'm going to have to shoot baby cows. You want cheap milk? I'm going to have to keep them in a barn all their life or send them off to Spain to be fattened up to be killed. Your choice. Yeah. I thought milk was just like cows out in a field and you just like squeak, 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 and just milk came out. It got a bit more serious than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like some vegan eco guy going, cuddle cows, now is pretty much, because of economics, farmers can't afford baby cows, so they either shoot them at birth. That's a bit rough. Okay, there is a bit of a brutal reality to that. Or send them on a day trip, okay, a week's trip to Spain to be fattened up, to be then shot. Or sent up to Egypt, I think they said as well, to then be shot and killed. Right. And we can't keep them outside because there's either a drought on or there's too much water and they drown. So we need to keep them indoors and away from sunlight. And we need to keep the baby cows away from the mum, because if the mum is with the baby cow for too long, the mum's not producing enough milk. So we're separating them from pretty much birth. That's a bit tougher than I thought.
So that consumers would support farmers in producing cows and calves to much higher standards. But there is no excuse at all.
The UK had the high standards.
For 5,500 young Scottish calves being sent every year all the way down to Spain. This trade is utterly inhumane.
Well, okay, we're going to repeat ourselves. I don't want to interrupt, but Jim Walker, last word. Is there not another way? Can these young bull calves that are either shot or shipped, can they not be raised in some way to make it profitable?
Well, at the moment, the honest answer to that is, John, no. In today's world, with the price of feeding, the price of barley, the price of wheat, and the price of dried milk, today, in today's real world, because they're worth less than £2 a kilo for mince, because it's only mince, you'll never see these animals in a steak in a restaurant. So it's low-value manufacturing beef we're talking about. At the end of their lives, they'll lose the producer £150 to £200 a tonne. It's very laudable that Peter wants the consumers of this country to pay more for milk and pay more for beef and other products. We would love, as farmers, for that to happen. Unfortunately, hard-pressed consumers are struggling to make ends meet, and that's a lovely aim but not realistic. And the final word I would suggest is he complains about some calves on a legal journey, looked after in modern-day haulage contractors' wagons that are in great nick with great ventilation that do actually control temperatures inside the wagons or inside the containers.
Air
conditioning. You should try going to London in the next wee while and stand in a tube in London. And then you'll see what real inhumanity is, and nobody's complaining about the people in London that have got no choice but step in tubes every day. So
people in London have no choice apart from going into the tube in London, and life must be horrendous. Being a baby dairy calf being taken away from his mother after a couple of days, maybe not even a couple of days, having the option of being shot or put in a container to sent over to Ireland, to go on a road trip, to go on another boat trip to France, to go on a 19-hour road trip, to go to Spain to get fattened up, to then have his throat slit. That's nothing compared to tubes in London going to work. The temperatures there, horrendous. So yeah, those cows have got it easy.
So Peter, I completely accept he has a point of view, but he's got to get into the real world for the first time in his career.
Okay, we'll leave it there. NFU former President Jim Walker and Peter Stevenson from Compassion in World Farming, they do call it shoot them or ship them. The male calves who are either shot or shipped abroad legally in difficult journeys. And the documentary is on BBC Scotland this evening.
Don't need to watch that.
There's a text about that too. Let me do some of these texts. People texting in. This is Hector and 5 young male calves that say shooting them at birth is kinder than shipping them abroad and ending up in Egypt, where they get ligaments cut to stop them moving when they get their throats cut, so they bleed to death with no need for stunning. Okay, thank you.
Don't need to hear that. Don't need to hear that. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with the dairy industry. And as I said, Scotland, the UK, we have the highest animal welfare standards in the world. So, these 5,000 cows that are getting sent away and the 95,000 getting shot at birth is nothing compared to people having to go on the tube in London. So yeah, Nothing wrong with the dairy industry. What those vegans and eco warriors want you to think, it's just propaganda. Just all propaganda that the kind of head of the Farmers Union kind of confirmed. I mean, there's not like there's any alternative to milk, dairy milk, cow milk. I mean, there's not like there's like, well, yeah, there's almond milk, yeah, soy milk, but you know, other than that, yeah, there's cashew milk and there's coconut milk and there's oat milk and there's hemp milk, macadamia milk that I saw the other day. There's chocolate milk. It's made out of coconut chocolate, and there's dark almond chocolate. But you know, there's no other alternatives to milk from a cow. So, yep. We're just gonna have to keep on doing it. Just face up to the reality. The brutal reality. Yeah, maybe.